2 days after our first two viewings in East Croydon, I had the next one in Woolwich. Now, this viewing was booked by my husband, so I didn't know what to expect. But trust me, the last thing I expected to see was a basement apartment. Aside the apartment being below ground floor, it was way too far away from work for the both of us. And it was one of those very old builds. Walking into the apartment, I could already smell those dampy old concrete smell that comes with basement apartments. Here I was asking the agent if there was proper drainage because I didn't want us to have to deal with a water puddle every time it rained, which can be common with this kind of apartments when there is no proper drainage system. I was quite impressed with how well the kitchen was maintained, but one of our deal breakers is having an apartment that comes with gas. We prefer our apartments all electric. The living room area was quite big and it matched the kitchen really well. I cannot say the same for the bathroom because as expected it was under a staircase, which made it very small. And of course it had no window. Coupled with the basement smell, I just knew this was not going to work. I did like the fact that it looked modern though. It had a small space facing the room which would have served really well for our wardrobes. I headed into the bedroom. It was quite big, just like the living room. It had a really big window, and honestly thinking back now, I wish I had viewed this apartment on a sunny day to see how much sunlight came into the house, because I'll pick a well-lit house any day, anytime. I spotted the side of the wall which looked like it had been damaged by rain, and I called the agent's attention to it. He was trying to explain that the tenants who had just moved out had a baby and kept a baby crib there, but that did not look like what could damage the walls. And there were also a couple chips on the doorways. This apartment was on the market for $1,150, which was later reduced to $1,100 because of the energy rating. Our next viewing goes back to East Croydon. On this day, Obi was working a late shift, so we were able to go for this viewing together. I started off this viewing in the kitchen, which was a big mistake because I instantly did not like the apartment. The tenants who moved out had lived there for 8 years. After 8 years, you would think the landlord would be willing to maintain the apartment, right? Well, guess what? The landlady said she was not going to do any kind of renovations. The apartment was obviously not cleaned before even put on the market because the oven was rusted, the tiles were falling apart, they were being held together by sellotape. And the smell, oof, let's not even talk about the smell. It's one of those houses you know it's going to take a miracle to get rid of the smell. You can see from the walls underneath the windows, it was in a very bad state. The flat also had a very thin hallway, which would have been impossible to get our wardrobes through. It had just one heater in the living room, which apparently covered the entire house. That I also did not like because we all know how cold London can get, even in the summer. The more I looked, the less I literally saw this as being a prospect. The only good thing about this apartment was how much light came in. The bathroom even made matters worse as it was a very big no for me. There was this very ancient boiler in there, which I didn't even bother asking if it was working because I knew we were not taking this apartment. This apartment was on the market for $1,300 without bills. Now trust me, I wouldn't even rent it for $500 in the state which I met it. So that wraps up our third and fourth viewings, and I will be seeing you in my next one.